Good Sunday morning, everyone. I'm Terry Wood. Welcome to the county seat. How's your Ag Lit, your agricultural literacy? Do you know where your food comes from? Do you know where your milk comes from? Of course it comes from cows. Of course the food's grown in the ground. But I mean, really know where it comes from. Have you ever taken a tour of a farm or a ranch? Well, you're going to find out today how you can, and we're going to increase your ag literacy just a bit on the program. First of all, we take a couple of tours with Derek Dowsett.
Where does your food come from? Well, if you think it comes from inside the refrigerator, you may be what they refer to as Ag Illiterate. But don't worry, the people who produce the food we all enjoy are working very hard to fix that problem.
Everyone eats. We are all a part of agriculture, even if we're not directly involved with production agriculture. And more people are just removed from the people who create and make their food that we kind of depend on and consume every day. So it's really important, we believe, for people to get out to farms and to have a chance to meet the farmers and the people behind their products, and just to understand a little bit about what goes into modern agriculture, and just really get a sense of how that works and why our farmers are so important.
The intent here is for kids to have a real life experience, hands-on, where they can see a farm, see where their food is actually being produced, and realize, hey, this is where it starts and it ends up on my table. And if we can get that across and the kids can have that experience and tie that to what they're learning in the classroom, then we've been successful.
Members of the Agriculture Sustainability Task Force have put together a number of events this year to help reach out to the general public and introduce them to where their food comes from. These events range from field trips to working farms to complete tours of a dairy.
People that just are not connected. So anytime that we can provide them a real life experience and teach them about agriculture and give them an opportunity to really come and get out and meet the people, we're being really effective in being able to teach them, because it's not going to come across on a piece of paper.
Politics and clever marketing have also affected what we choose to eat and how we respond to the issues that impact people who work to feed us every day.
The farther removed that society becomes from the natural resources that we have available to us, the more poor decisions they make as far as policy, political decisions, use of the land, trying to tie up those resources to protect it, but in the same side hurting themselves because they're limiting the opportunities they have for their food. We have here in Salt Lake an urban environment where all of the city has sprawled across our best agricultural land. The only land left is up in the foothills, which is poor for agriculture. Then they want to have no pesticides, they want to have no GMOs, they don't want to have any kind of other agricultural technologies that we develop. They're really hindering the farmers who are trying to produce the food for the public.
Tours like these are an opportunity to get past the hyperbole and become acquainted with the people who are part of agriculture.
Everyone thinks that farmers are ruining the environment and they're polluting with pesticides and the waste off their dairy, and there's nothing that's farther from the truth. And we want to build confidence that when those consumers go and get that gallon of milk in the store, that they know that they're getting the best product that there is. There's nothing better for their family available than what they're getting.
When I started working for dairy farmers, that most impressed me was their commitment to sustainability and to making sure that they are taking care of the land and taking care of the animals. And the whole farm is just a recycling process, especially on a dairy farmer who's a crop farmer as well as a dairy farmer. They're using the manure from their cows to put nutrients back into the soil, and that's going to grow the feed that they then feed to their cows. And so it's just this amazing cycle.
So next time you reach for that gallon of milk, a carton of eggs, or that ear of corn, and you wonder to yourself, I wonder how this was produced or who made it. If you have no idea, you may want to check out one of these events, or ask some questions at your local farmer's market or the grocery store. There are a lot of people out there who would love to help you be more ag literate. For the county seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Oh, thank you very much, Derek, and I hope you got your boots clean, too. Well, we're going to come back in just a moment after this break, and we're going to find out what Ag Lit really means. We'll be right back.
The weekends just never feel like they're long enough. By the time you get to a destination, you're worn out and you may need a vacation to recover from your last vacation. The solution is closer than you think, and that's just what you need. You can find the desert at Little Sahara, the cool refreshment of Yuba Lake, escape to the green of the forest on the Nebo Loop. Join us September 12th for the Camp Yuba Triathlon. Sign up online. Make your escape to Juab County. It'll change your family forever.
I'm a Utah's own dairy producer. I care about the health of my animals, and I care about the quality of food we produce.
Because when it comes to providing quality dairy products,
I understand the importance of Utah grown and raised.
And the jobs we enjoy are vital, because Utah's Own supports our communities.
As a consumer, I look for Utah's Own products, because Utah's Own is good for me, and it's good for Utah.
Keeping it here at home, Utah's Own.
Color, it's something that can be seen. But have you ever wanted to reach out and touch it? Experience it. In San Juan County, Utah, color comes to life like nowhere else on earth. Color can be more than an abstract. Color can be your gateway to a new world. Visit San Juan County and explore the past, present, and future in a way that you've only dreamed of. San Juan County. Color your experience.
There are a couple great things about the Uinta Basin. One is it's still small, it's community. It makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody. When you know your neighbor knows you, and you can trust each other. People look out for one another.
I grew up in the Uinta Basin, and I think that it's a good place to raise a family.
So we packed up our 3 kids, and here we came to Uinta County, and what a great place it was.
It's not too big, it's not too small.
And it has a lot to offer that you just don't get in the big city anymore.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's meet our guests today, because I think we're going to have a very interesting discussion about your food and where it comes from. Let's start down on the far end with Larry Lewis. Larry is the Communications Director for the Department of Agriculture and Food of the state of Utah. Larry and I go back a long way. We've worked together in a lot of projects. Jennifer Clark actually owns a dairy farm in the Morgan area, so you've got a unique perspective, Jennifer. And Kristi Spence is with the Utah Dairy Commission. So Larry, first of all, this term that we heard there in Derek's story earlier, ag literacy. Now that's fascinating. Tell me what ag literacy is.
Well, we consider ourselves all ag communicators, and we recognized with talking with our counterparts across the country that the general public could use an increase in their literacy level of what agriculture is. And you know, states, in different states, they use that same term, that we need to increase the literacy rate of consumers regarding agriculture. Because I think farmers and ranchers are basically very humble people, and they needed people like us to help tell their story. And we've come together as a group to work on projects and translate agriculture talk to the general public, and also translate general, you know, concepts back to the farmer and rancher, so that we understand the consumer and the farmer and rancher in Utah and across the country.
You said they're doing this in other states. How did all this come about in Utah?
So in Utah, you know, I have the opportunity in my position to work with a lot of my counterparts at other states across the country. And I was talking to one of them, and she was mentioning that she was going to an ag commodity meeting that they had, and I pressed her and asked her a little bit more, and I thought, you know, we have a great opportunity in Utah to start working together more with some of the other commodity groups and the Department of Agriculture, Dairy Council, and figure out where our missions align and then collaborate, because we're much stronger together. And Larry was just talking about ag literacy, and that's something that the dairy industry across the country and here locally has really been committed to doing, is getting people back in touch with where their food comes from and the farmers and the people behind the milk they buy at the grocery store, because less than 2% of the population is involved with production agriculture. And that's really, I think, where this concept comes into play of ag literacy, is just with so many people moving away from the farm, we want to, yet people really want to know where their food comes from. We want to give them that opportunity to meet the farmers, understand ranching practices, understanding farming practices, get to know the families that are behind that.
That's an interesting figure. 2% involved in agriculture, feeding the other 98% of the country. Seems like a big job.
it's a huge job, and it keeps dwindling. Yeah. So you're part of the 2%.
That's true. We are. My daughter is actually at a 4-H state contest this week, and she's giving a speech about growing up on a dairy farm. And in her speech, she makes the comparison that it's more likely for a child to go to prison than it is for them to be born into a farming family.
Really?
So it's surprising how few there are. And those of us who are involved get a lot of questions. People in our community come to us often with a question about milk or a question about cows. So we've had the chance, where our farm is in the city limits, to really invite people to our farm and share our story with them.
You know, well, that's what I was going to ask you about. We saw on Derek's story there just a few minutes ago about a tour of the Bateman Dairy Farm, I believe it is, and another farm along the Wasatch Front for people who aren't involved in agriculture, help them understand. And you do these tours on your farm too?
We do. We started by just having elementary kids come to our school every year as a field trip. Our farm is within walking distance of the elementary school.
In Morgan?
It is. So we end up hosting several hundred kids at our farm every year, and that mushroomed into something bigger because they could only come for about an hour, and they would go around stations at our farm and learn about milking and feeding cows. And I realized that in an hour they could learn a lot, but I wanted them to come more. So we host some camps at our farm during the summer.
Oh, you do?
Where kids can sign up to spend a day at our farm.
What do they do?
They come and milk cows, change sprinkler pipes, haul hay. We call it Farmer for a Day. And they come and learn what it would be like to live on a farm and the chores you do as a farmer.
What kind of reaction do you get from them? Do they want to become farmers after that?
They
or do
do.
They say, oh, this isn't for me?
When they first show up at the farm, there's a lot of plugged noses because of the smells and things, but by the end of the day, they all wish that their dad was a farmer.
People really want to know about agriculture. I mean, 95% of Utahns indicated in a survey that they support agriculture and think it's vital to the future of the state of Utah. And so they're looking for a connection to it. And I think that's why we see the popularity of these farm field days and the farm ag tours, is that people want to get more connected to their food producer. You know, Utah is a very local, farm-oriented state. We have 18,000 farms in the state. 18,000 farms in the state.
Does that count ranches too?
Right, farms and
ranches,
ranches, right.
farms.
And 1,800, 10% of them, sell directly to the public, which is higher, that's 10%, which is higher than the national average of 7% of the local sales connection with the different states.
Is that increasing because of all the farmers markets throughout Wasatch Front and other parts of the state?
Right, they're very popular. $16 million is spent, which is a very good number in Utah, on local produced foods. People go to farms to buy their products. They go to roadside stands and farmers markets, which is a growing number in Utah. Nationwide, that number is kind of stagnant and declining, but in Utah, the amount of money spent in purchasing local products is on the rise, which is unique.
That people are thinking fresh and local.
Yeah, they want their local food.
And even restaurants are promoting that these days too. Well, people assume the dairy market has always been fresh, you know?
And it really is. I mean, by nature of a perishable product, it really makes sense that your milk would come from a farm, you know, close by. And Utah does. I mean, the dairy farms in Utah provide enough fluid milk to support, you know, our state's population. And, you know, I want to go back to something that Jennifer was saying. She's able to bring people kind of in her local community to their farm. Mm-hmm. And that's been one of our missions at the Dairy Council the last several years, is to open up and do more farm tours. And so we've done tours for groups of dietitians and for university students. And I'm happy to say that this year we actually have integrated a dairy farm tour into a nutrition or food literacy class for every single university in the state.
Oh, really?
And the goal, again, is, you know, I'm a dietitian by training. I also did not grow up in agriculture, so I think this is one of the reasons I'm really passionate about this, is because as a dietitian I was constantly asked questions about, well, how was that raised and is it sustainable? And in order to answer those questions correctly, you have to have some experience with agriculture. And in school, you don't inherently get that experience. And so we want to provide that experience for emerging health professionals and dietitians. And they've been amazingly well received. I mean, people leave the farm and they just can't believe what goes into producing a gallon of milk and how the animals are treated and cared for. And it's been a great
They feel much better about it afterwards.
They do. I think, whether they have misconceptions or preconceived ideas, there's no better way to address those than to get someone to the farm and let them meet farmers and talk with them and ask them questions directly. Not just me, but ask them questions directly.
There are several times that people have come to visit our farm on a little bit misinformed, misunderstood. We have been misunderstood, but I don't think anyone has ever left the farm upset. They've come to our farm upset with questions for me and wondering why, but everyone who has left has had a positive feeling about it.
Like what kind of questions they have?
They want to know how the cows are taken care of. What do we feed the cows? Where do the cows live? How do we treat the cows?
And your farm, as I understand, is run by your girls now.
It is that we do. We have 5 daughters. We have 1 son and 5 daughters, and our girls, they all know how to milk cows. On the weekends, they're milking cows and feeding calves.
That is a family-run farm. Well, we're going to talk more about this and how you can be Ag Lit when we come back.
Bring the family to Lake Town, Utah, August 21st through the 23rd, and step back into the 1800s for an authentic mountain man rendezvous featuring pre-1840 mountain man traders, Native American dancers, craftsman demonstrations, black powder shooting, and more. Join us at the actual site where mountain men gathered over 175 years ago to trade for supplies and prove their abilities through competition. The Bear Lake Rendezvous. Find out more at bearlakerendezvous.com.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? In Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
Kanab, base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking about ag literacy, agriculture literacy, in other words, making you understand where your food comes from. And it's a big project here in the state of Utah now, the Utah Ag Task Force, right? Tell me, what are some of the projects that you have coming up here?
So when we first came up with this idea of getting all of the commodity groups together, we had a kickoff meeting, and so this was in January, and we just kind of brainstormed a list of names, and I did this with Larry in the Department of Agriculture about who should be at the table, and we really had a broad spectrum of people, but anyone related to agriculture who had an interest in food in the state. And our goal with that meeting back in January, this was a bigger meeting and the task force came from this meeting, but was twofold really. We wanted to get people in the same room so that we all knew who each other were, and then brainstorm some projects that we might be able to work on and come up with a smaller working group from that larger group and then start tackling some projects. And so the Utah Ag Task Force was born. I think we had our smaller working group meeting maybe a month after that big kickoff meeting, and we've been meeting every couple weeks ever since to plan projects and talk about what our common goals and interests are and how we can collaborate. And it's been really great. I mean, just to sit around the table with our counterparts with the pork producers and the beef council and the wool growers.
The pork producers and the sheep producers get along with the cattle producers.
We're all friends.
I mean, that wasn't the way it was in the old westerns I saw as a kid.
So we have a number of projects that are on the table. One of them is we're working with different commodity groups to tell agriculture's history through historic photos. Our department has put a call out for older photos of Utah agriculture from the different commodity groups, so we can put together a project in our department to show off what agriculture is and what it was in the past. We've had coverage in some of the media in the different parts of the state, and I'm getting a call a day from people saying, here, I have some photos of this, my grandfather did that, can you use these photos? And so we're gathering them from the different commodity groups as well. And that's an example.
These are photos you wouldn't find at the Utah State Historical Society because they're coming from individuals.
And you know, one of the things that I think is so neat about this group is that we all knew each other beforehand, but I think now it's so much easier to pick up the phone and call, you know, someone and just say, hey, do you have anything, or do you have any resources on this topic, and bounce ideas off one another. And so that type of collaboration is really great. And we've brought other people to the table that we might not have otherwise worked with. We're working with Thanksgiving Point, you know, they have similar goals to some of the things that we're doing, and are interested in being more involved in the food bank. And so bringing those types of groups, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, our state chapter, working with them. So everything from what happens on the farm to, you know, what happens on people's plates. We're trying to bring all those people together to work toward these common goals.
Let me ask you this. There's kind of an emphasis these days on organically produced food. Do you know how much of the food produced in Utah is certified organic, or are farmers moving that way, that direction?
Somewhat. We had a public survey poll taken a few months ago. While there are some organic producers, consumers are iffy on it. They're about 50-50 as far as looking for and going out of their way for organically grown foods. There is a market for it, but it's not as strong as you might think by hearing the media reports about it. But
is it moving that direction, or is it pretty much static now?
I think it's growing in popularity, but it hasn't really become mainstream in our findings.
Yeah, and on the dairy side, I'd say, you know, we have a couple organic dairy farms in Utah, and there are a couple more that are switching over to being organic producers. So I wouldn't say it's a mass trend, but there are, you know, a couple more farms here.
Now, when it comes to a dairy, when it comes from a cow, it seems pretty organic right there. What's the difference between an organic dairy farm and one that isn't?
That's what I was going to say. There's really not a lot of difference, and especially in the product itself, both products from an organic farm or non-organic have to meet the same standards. So it's difficult on a dairy farm to be organic because of large quantities of food that we feed our cows, but both products are identical and both are safe and wholesome.
And you do have a lot of high standards you got to
Oh yeah, the difference is in farming practices, just really what the cows are fed, and so they have to be fed organic feed.
Well, here's something I find interesting. You've probably heard of the Ragnar race across the top of the Wasatch before. Have you heard of the Agnar food run? We're going to in just a minute when we come back.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
Have you ever wanted to recreate the world around you? Add some excitement, culture, adventure? Well, there's no need to remake the world when that perfect combination already exists. Just remember 4 words. Welcome to Weber County. In Ogden, you'll find everything you're looking for, from the top of Powder Mountain to the restaurants of our revitalized downtown. Ogden, Utah, mountain to metro and everything in between. Visit Ogden.com.
Along Interstate 70 and Highway 89 is an area that is rich with high mountain peaks, vast forests, lakes, streams, historical sites, and a climate that is perfect for outdoor adventures, no matter what the season. Whether you visit Sevier County to catch one of the many celebrations, experience a country-style county fair, or be part of various concerts, sports, or equestrian events, you will be greeted by local residents with a smile and a welcoming hand. In the center of it all, Sevier County.
There is a place where young and old make connections, where kids feel like grown-ups, and grown-ups feel like kids. There is a place where beauty arises in contrast, where wonder is universal, and laughter second nature. There is a place where friends find a future, families find each other, and feelings find their home. There is a place.
Okay, we promised you we would talk about the Agnar Food Run. I said Agnar Food Fun Run, but it is supposed to be fun, isn't it? Sure. Tell me about it.
It is. So what this is, you know, when our task force first met, we kind of brainstormed some ideas, and pretty clearly everyone said we should do a race or a run or something fun. And so that's where the idea was born, and all of our meetings we've just kind of built upon that. And the goal is just, it's a fun 5K. We're not timing it, it's just get people out and have a good time.
Where
and
is
then
it?
It's going to be at the Utah Fairgrounds the week after the state fair, so September
After
26th.
the fair.
Right after the fair is
First
over.
Saturday after the fair.
So it'll be a little
First
cooler
Saturday.
then.
Perfect weather.
Perfect weather for a run. And it's for families, and the goal is really this goal of ag literacy. After the race, we're going to have a bunch of booths and exhibits sponsored by a bunch of the different commodity groups. And the idea is education and fun and bringing agriculture to people. You know, we talked about getting people onto farms and how we all like to do that as much as possible, but we can't always get everyone to the farm. And so sometimes it's really fun to bring the farm and agriculture to a fun event and to people to just give them a taste and a flavor of what agriculture is all about in the state.
I think the unique thing about this one, the special thing, is that the proceeds, the entry fees and the monies that we generate will go to the Utah Food Bank. So it is really a fun food run. So if you're going to be registering to run and participate, know that your dollars that you're spending there are going to go for food for the Utah Food Bank.
How would people register for that? How would
So we have a website, and it's agnarfoodrun.com, and you can just go to that website and register and learn a little bit more about the race. And September is Hunger Action Month, which was another reason that we wanted to put it there and then have all the proceeds go to benefit the food bank. And so there will be food for people to enjoy and eat, some of Utah's own products, and then also all the benefits.
And Jennifer, if someone wants to, say a teacher wants to take a class, or even, I don't know, maybe individuals or large groups, wants to take a tour of a dairy like yours, what would they do?
I think probably the easiest thing for them to do would be get in touch with the Utah Dairy Commission. The council knows where all the farmers are throughout the state and who is set up to run a farm tour. Not everyone is in a position that they can do that, but the Utah Dairy Council would be a great place to start.
Are there other farms or ranches? Do ranchers that take tours of their place too?
They do, and through the Beef Council, they're doing more ranch tours. And to follow up on Jennifer, we're on the cusp of launching a brand new website, and on that site there's actually going to be a form for people to fill out if they want to visit a farm. It'll come right to me, and then we can hook them up with a dairy farm or a tour that's already going to be going on, but I can be in touch with them directly. So.
But it's not quite up yet, huh? Soon, you
soon,
say?
Very soon. Yeah.
Coming soon to a website near you, huh?
Exactly, and it's dairyutnv.com. is our website.
And you're getting a lot of good feedback out of all this task force fun.
Yeah, we think it's really important. It's just taking off because we recognize that the public really wants to know about agriculture, and this is a place where they can do that. They can come, have fun, and learn about agriculture and help their children learn about it too.
Well, people do want to know where their food comes from these days. I've learned a lot on the program today. I thank you all very much for being here. Larry Lewis, Jennifer Clark, and Kristi Spence. Thank you for informing me and informing our audience, and thank you for joining us on this Sunday morning. I'm Terry Wood.
If you like this video, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel, The County Seat. You can do that here. And we invite you to share with your friends. We also invite you to get all the latest up-to-date information by following us on our social media channels. And if all else fails, make sure that you watch The County Seat Sunday morning at 8:30 right here on ABC4.